that I've seen all over the country and even in Europe, that a crazy intersection like that, big and wide, they stripe the whole thing. It looks like a huge crosswalk.
Yeah.
And it just is kind of gives more fair game to anybody that wants to cross anywhere. Is for drivers and stuff, that's an alert area. So I don't know if they can look into that. It's a lot of paint.
That's only done when you have traffic light stop control at all 4 intersections, because you have to stop the vehicular traffic for that.
Okay.
You can't just have an open intersection.
With-
And it can't be stop sign controlled. It actually has to be traffic signal controlled to stop like that, to have that, cross in any direction. It has to be traffic light controlled.
Okay. Is that a state statute? Is that how that works?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, it's actually a federal.
Right, got it.
Yeah, I guess when you see all this stuff on the internet and what other cities have done and stuff, maybe it's not always on the up and up.
But I think we'll take what we can get from Mr. Church. He's
Yeah,
offering.
That's excellent.
We throw 4 and we get 3.
I'd-
We push for 4.
That would be great, yeah. I think this study, too, when it comes out, I mean, we have people professionally prepare a study. I know that they're going to identify that area as requiring more attention. Could carry some weight with them then down the road, present the plan to the county as well.
Yeah, especially if it's going to be moving into 24.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'll give us some time to get that
Right.
finalized and get that over to them too.
Anyway, Josh, sorry for interrupting.
Oh, no problem at all.
Because I know he's got a list of stuff he has to get done. And, but Paul's going to sit here and listen to give advice because he is city engineer. He's the,
Absolutely, yeah.
he came from Upper Township, so he has a lot of good stuff to help us with, keep us out of trouble. And just to let you know, just on a, this is an advisory group. This group, the Traffic Advisory, Bike and Safety Committee. There's no need to do Oprah request to the clerk or anybody else for any information you need. If there's any information you need, address it to the manager's office, and I will get you the information, or I'll consult with to make sure we're doing things right. So I just don't want to. I know the clerk was upset there was an Oprah requested for 15 years of information on certain things, and it's just too much work, and it's just not fair.
I'm sorry, my hearing is bad. I didn't hear most of what you said there. You're saying the Oprah requests are not necessary?
Well, it's an awful lot of work for the clerk to ask for 15 years of stuff. I'm just trying to remind everybody in good faith, because I appreciate what everybody does, but this is an advisory group. We're all in the same mindset of trying to provide safety for the community. But if there's anything you need, please address it to my office, and I'll get you whatever I can without putting the clerk through trying to pour her hair out, getting you 15 years of information.
Jim,
I say that respectfully, not disrespectfully.
Yeah, as I was going to report here under new business, I filed an Oprah request last Friday. That was accepted as of Monday. And I have a copy here, which I was going to present to the to the group. I mean, there's. I feel
Mike's just saying that we just need to go through him when we make those.
And I'm
That's what he was
more than
saying.
happy, Mike, to go through you on it.
Well, so noted.
Well, one other thing then, are you saying I should not talk to the code enforcement people or the chief of police or?
There's no need to, please. I mean, I say this very respectfully to you and to the board here today. They're very busy people. Funnel it through the manager's office, and I'll get you the information from, if it's the police chief or the code enforcement or whatever department it may be. They're very busy people, and they want to do the right thing, but we can't have.
Yeah, no, we're all on the same team. I'm not trying to.
Right, we're on the same page. I appreciate it, Jim. Thank you.
Okay.
And Mike, I don't know if we all said to you, thank you immensely for that stop sign on Elmira. I know you've had a lot of problems with it, and continue to follow up.
Until the council adopts it at
Right.
the next meeting or whatever, public hearing.
Right.
We can't do enforcement.
Right.
And the neighborhood is pleased. You know, I get criticized about what traffic study did we do? Well, in my 50 years in government, the best traffic committee or traffic count you could do is talk to the neighbors.
Right.
They're the ones that have to deal with the issue and the problem. You could pay a lot of money for these consultants that are, you know, they're gonna say, well, really, they're not legal, but like you talked about earlier, in some cities, they might be doing things, well, it works.
Yeah.
It works, and until council decides if they're gonna make it permanent or not, we can't enforce it, but the chief has been kind enough to put a police car there, sitting there, reminding people.
Yeah.
You know, they call it a ghost car, whatever you wanna call it, but it's working. And people have to get accustomed to it. I have not received complaints from the citizens of this community, only one person. But that person is not a happy person.
Right.
She calls me all the time, and I get emails every night, so. But I want to thank you for what you're doing. And Jim, I didn't mean to offend you, I just want to try to keep us all on the same page.
Will do.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Mike.
Josh, oh, I'm sorry.
Just a couple updates too. I am currently installing a couple more bike racks at Convention Hall area. We have a couple more hoop racks, and there's that area getting beat up a lot in the hoop racks. So we're gonna be installing a couple more there, and then I'm in the process right now. The guys should be digging it as we speak. They are installing the second fix-it station down at the corner of Madison and Michigan. To get a little bit of fix-it station over on that side of town. It's gonna be right on the corner of Madison and Michigan.
And are those bike racks, the big rack things?
No,
or
the hoops.
Okay, you
Yep.
said that.
Yep, the hoop racks.
Can they squeeze a couple more behind the Mac hut?
I've been in contact with Tom Carroll and the fund. They have raised money and they bought, I believe, 75 more racks.
Oh,
And they're supposed to be due in October, I believe. I'll have to follow up with Tom. But that shipment that comes in October, there'll be some putting in behind Mac, some over on Rotary Park, some more on Carpenter's Lane and Lyle Lane. Me and him went and walked one day and we mapped it out with tape measure and stuff, and we were able to get about 60 to 70 more racks in that mall area.
Nice.
The hoops,
Yeah.
correct.
great.
Perfect.
So, and like I said, that shipment's supposed to be, I believe, coming like October-ish.
Is it
It's great.
Darrow again?
Huh?
Is it Darrow?
Yes.
Yeah, they ship
Yep.
slow.
So, that's anything, any other questions before I head out?
No, thank you for all you're doing for us.
You got it.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
And for the
We have more
city.
things, but we won't. We won't bring them up.
No problem. You guys have a good night,
Thank
good
you
day,
very
and
much.
catch you later.
Thanks.
Say hi to
Ed.
the family for me.
I will. See you guys.
See you, Eric.
So Josh, just one other thing in here.
Yes.
Do we have anything in here as far as public service announcements or education? I mean, I know we talk about schools and stuff.
We do, actually. So in reading, when you go through it, you're going to see that there is no Appendix A in the bid specification. I was having a hard time getting the original technical memorandum to hardline into it, so I was going to have the clerk's office include this as a secondary attachment when anybody was requesting the bid specification. Just as a heads up to anybody else, that's
Okay.
what Appendix A was. What I did notice in there was they were trying to do initiatives to have these measures implanted into the school curriculum. Or maybe not even just that, just having things hang in the classroom, just
Right.
like a poster or whatever. So there is something in here that
Yeah, I
does,
saw that. I'm talking about not just for school kids, I'm talking about in general for the public, the visiting public, the, adults, because sometimes the adults are just as bad as the kids.
yes, I did have that. It's a little further down than the middle.
Third of the way down, in there it says create public service announcements,
So
visitors.
my aim for that one was more to have the current ordinances, like making sure that everybody was aware of the speed limit drop, things of that nature. But we can definitely expand on that as
I
well.
guess where I'm thinking more of kind of like the safety fair that we talk about, incorporating that on a yearly basis, or, something to be able to get some funding for that eventually. Like the bike safety thing that you guys ran last
Right.
year.
And he's willing to do that again. So, yeah.
A couple other things that I was looking at doing. One thing was going to be having the group completely reevaluate the original technical memorandum.
I never saw it, so yeah.
Oh, I hadn't seen it until about a month ago. But I have a copy of that here if you guys want to do that, and I also have an electronic copy as well, so I can actually email it to everybody. That was a little hard to track down, but I got my hands on it. Holly has an expanded version of that as well, where apparently there's like an appendix that's included in there, but that's not the copy that I have. So there's more focus on safe routes for schools, integrate and implement safe routes for children walking to school. One thing that I found that was interesting, there was a recommendation to have an app-based, I guess
Map.
basically, app-based map, essentially. So I think what might make it a little bit easier, because with an app comes, somebody has to oversee it, make sure it's up and functioning. It might be a little bit easier to have a QR code that's placed on signs that's updated on the city website. So that QR code will pull up, like you just beep, and it'll pull up something that's hosted on the city's website. That can be updated quickly, and also we have control of that,
Yeah, we're actually doing that.
which is perfect,
Right.
which is
The map,
perfect.
getting it on the map.
Which just because I know there was some discussion on mobile app. Like I said, I don't know who wrote up the original punch list for the resolution, but that was mentioned on there. I just wanted to add that point that somebody would need to maintain the app.
Yeah, so keep it simple.
Absolutely. And you're keeping your costs down too, because unless anybody has the technical prowess to do that, Paul, I don't know if you do or not, but that's going to
Okay,
increase the
great.
amount of money we'll have to spend to keep it
Yeah,
up and running.
we're working on updating the map, and one of the things is the QR codes for the jitney schedule, for actually, just the bike map itself on the bike map. And so the printer that's dealing with it, she's creating those. From my understanding, she can easily create the QR codes.
Nice.
So we're working on that.
That'd be great. Yeah, and it'd be as simple as us getting a URL link over to it, so that way it just pops right onto that.
Right.
It's all done.
Right.
What else was on there? Another point was safer access to jitney stops. So Appendix B in here is a written-out map of what the AC Jitney is doing for the free shuttle service. And then we also, and it doesn't really translate well in the black and white, but a visual map as well. There are some spots that might be a little treacherous to get to, crossing major roads, things of that nature. So having them look at where a bulk of people might be coming to get to those points, especially, Beach Ave being one of them.
Yep.
Because we've all seen people, like locals, visitors, just walk out through cars, and it gets a little scary.
Yeah.
So this map doesn't show where the stops currently are, or does it?
No, it
It's the
does.
circles.
It's-
Oh,
You can't see them,
circles?
but that's the little.
Got it,
circles are the
thanks.
stops.
Okay, got it.
We're running low on our colored toner, so I tried to do it.
Oh, I see it.
But it is
Okay.
in color in the actual
Yeah.
copy of it. But yeah, each circle is going to be that.
Perfect.
But like the main point, I forget who brought it up last time, the last meeting, with the e-bikes and the golf carts being as quiet as they are. Having this focus on those as well, because making sure they're safe, because if you get a car that's even a little bit loud, you're never even gonna hear them coming.
Yeah.
That was another
Oh, yeah,
focus.
without question.
You don't hear the cars now either.
Well, yeah, and
So
you
let's
you get
face it, I
you get a
mean,
hybrid,
that's everything.
you get a
Problem is
EV.
operators.
You're not hearing nothing. Yeah, exactly. Well, just keeping them focused as well at the same time. And people on bikes. I've been guilty of not paying attention while I was riding my bike through town before.
No.
I know it's hard to believe, but it is true. Earmuffs, Deacon.
And just a little typo, Mike, it's not referred to as the jitney now. It's referred to as the something shuttle, I was told.
Okay.
It's not.
We can change
They're not
that.
using the term. I'll get you the correct
The
term.
correct
It's something
verbiage?
shuttle. Yeah.
No problem.
But I think that works well.
No, it's great.
That works well with the whole pedestrian thing, you know, you're focusing on the jitney shuttle, but it also benefits all the pedestrians around it, on our part of the committee, because we're not really involved with the jitney. I know
Oh, absolutely.
Maureen, the councilwoman, she's the one that's really, I think, working on that, as well as the golf carts, but we appreciate that teamwork, working together with
Oh,
that.
absolutely. Yeah, because you have to walk to it. It's got a prescribed path. And there was another point that somebody had brought up, a revised path for the shuttle service. But they have already signed a one-year contract agreeing to these terms. So that will have to be something that we can discuss with Councilwoman
Yeah.
McDade on including that in the next RFP for when we go out to bid for that.
Yeah, like I said, it's one thing that we don't get into, you
It's-
know,
oh,
so, you know.
I'll talk to her about it.
Yeah,
It'll be
yeah.
no problem. Nice bulletin board
One-
material.
one- other-
I think what you're asking us to do is check out these stops to see if there's any issues with pedestrian safety.
You don't have, no, well, we'd be asking the group to do that.
Right.
I'm not asking, the only thing I'm asking of your committee is to just take a read through page 6 and 7. The rest of the pages, if you want to thumb through them, perfectly fine. It's going to be more of the legal stuff that the bidders need to
Right.
do. So if you're having a hard time sleeping, read that. That'll help you fall asleep.
Just one other point, riding my bike just the other night, and trying to stay on even some of the side roads in New Jersey Avenue, the bike lanes in many cases have really bad dips, et cetera, which causes you to get out to the street. So I guess just an evaluation of, maybe some hot spots that need to be addressed, and how do we address them without digging the whole street up, but.
Very good point. I actually had put in there a little bit closer to the top for the group to review the road programs that we've done since 2017 and make possible recommendations on the next roads to be
Well,
looked
these
at.
are some of the roads that are,
Oh, some of them, it's almost, I know exactly what you're talking about with New Jersey Ave, though, especially once you get closer to Stockton. It gets,
even up from Pittsburgh.
well, that too, but
And that brings up, again, the subject of sidewalks and sidewalk safety for pedestrians. And that's a whole.
oh, yeah, I was going to say, that's a big
Yeah,
point of
and I don't
contention in
know if
some
you-
points of town.
You want to go there or not, but, and I'm doing as much research as I can about that situation, and
Yeah, I was unfamiliar with the regulations around, like, the, was it limestone sidewalks? Like, because, like, those are.
Flagstone.
Flagstone, I'm sorry. With the way the roots are coming up and starting to push them up, if you're taking a gamble walking around at night on some of the streets without streetlights.
Just a quick aside, I was riding my bike here on Columbia Avenue, and I watched a guy walking in the road.
Oh,
My
just
mother used to walk in the road to avoid sidewalks.
and that's what many people are doing. I mean, that's only one of the safety situations. Obviously, the situation is when somebody trips and falls on those, but also it forces a lot of people on some of the streets, particularly in the historic district,
Yes,
to walk in the road, myself being one of them, for sure.
I've done it as well.
Yeah, but it is a whole other topic, and whether that's under your scope of work or not, I leave that up to you.
Well, what we can do is we can have them look into, we can put in there to have them look into that. Because like I said, I think it's going to dive a little bit further down to, I don't know if there's even any, like, HPC.
Oh, yeah, I've
when it
talked to
comes
the
to-
people at HPC. If you're changing your sidewalk or trying to remediate it, you have to stick with either brick or slate or bluestone.
Gotcha.
And you have your choice of those three, but just cementing over is, does not get the okay of HPC.
And then the other thing we'd have to consider is some of them are popping up because of the roots from the trees. Then you have shade tree, you have to,
Most of them.
Right,
yeah, most.
for sure.
I didn't want to generalize too much, but,
I'll do it for you since
thank you.
I'm not a paid employee.
But, yeah, we'd have to consult with shade tree as well.
Yeah, that's a big one.
But again, if this is going to include looking into the sidewalk situation, and I mean, an extension of the scope of work.
Yeah, we can totally put in there to have them
Or
look
put it in
into
there, yeah.
feasible options to remediate that issue.
Right.
Or to, I don't know, try to start an initiative with some of the dwelling owners on assistance with that.
Right.
Because, I mean,
Which they do.
ultimately, that would fall on them, correct? Or,
Yeah.
so,
But our understanding is that the city does supplement the cost for many situations.
gotcha, cool.
So Josh, I don't want to hold you longer.
No, that's fine.
I
Fire
wanna
away.
Help you wrap up, and then we'll get to the chief.
All right, and then I guess, the bottom paragraph, it's just making sure that the prospective bidder is responsible for working with the CFO, with myself, with city management, with Paul as city engineer. You know, with some of these initiatives, they're gonna come potentially having to go out to bid more for like the things that they want to implement. This
Right.
is more for all intents and purposes, it's a study.
Right.
So just making sure that they don't get too far ahead of themselves, just try to start planning things and getting things executed on their own.
Good idea.
Because even though they'll be under a professional service contract, there is other wrinkles that go into it. Funding being one of them, and I specifically put, working with all of us on implementation of proposals that are deemed financially feasible, because that's always, you know, that's got to be there too. Someone's got to pay for it.
Right.
So my understanding with a grant is that you come up with our requests, and then does the grant, they come back and say, we'll do this and this and this and this. Is that how it works? Does it get that specific?
Sometimes it does, and when you're dealing with the state and the feds, there is a guideline that's set up for what is deemed acceptable and not acceptable for putting out a bid spec. My only real experience has been a grant through the HPC, and they were doing a study on African-American impacts in historic Cape May. And the amount of back and forth between myself and the office at the state that was putting the grant out was immense. It was a lot of back and forth. So what I wanted to do was get an almost final copy of this done, which is what you all have in front of you. Give it to Jim Rotala, who's been kind of leading on this whole thing on the grant side, and then he can get it up to the state for like a little bit of a review, and just maybe they can give us a couple pointers on possibly throw this in there, or you don't really need to have that in there. Or we might need to have further explanation on each bullet point.
And
Not
when would you
quite
like this? I mean, I guess sooner
Oh,
than later, correct?
I mean, sooner than later, but at your leisure. I don't want you to feel.
Holly's out of town, and this is a big part of her, so we'll probably
Well,
get together with her.
I'm gonna email her a copy of this.
Okay.
Her and I were speaking on Friday, I believe. It's either Thursday or Friday of last week.
I think she's at Yellowstone now.
Yeah, I know, I was very jealous, actually. So I wanted to get her a copy of that, so that way she can also review it.
So just to remind everybody of what this grant is for and what it's supposed to be doing is we're obviously, this RFP is to hire a group that's going to put together a plan to make improvements, and we'll have input to that, I'm sure. But the whole point is that we've won the $200,000 to pay for this, and then there is like a lot of money. I mean, like over 100 million or something that all of the municipalities are competing for. So,
Correct.
no, it's I think it's state. No, it's Pete Buttigieg. But he did do it. Yeah, so it's federal. But the point is that yeah, that we're going after money that other people are going after, So hopefully the sooner we get a proposal out, the better, because we're going to be getting in line to get money. I mean, this is an opportunity, you're talking about doing sidewalks, which God forbid, we would have to repair all these sidewalks. Who knows? It's possible that if in fact this group says the sidewalks are horrendous and the pedestrians will be much safer if these are repaired, we may get funding to do that. So, I mean, this is the time to,
Absolutely.
again, the point is that the sooner we get it out, the more competitive we'll be, I hope, with other communities for the same money,
Get to work.
Yeah.
Can I also go back to that thing? What you would like for us to do is pretty much tear it apart, go through it and give our recommendations, because there is that whole study did not address the part of Lafayette Street, I don't know which way, towards inland.
Yes.
It's not addressed at all. So that's where you would like us to give you some documentation where we think improvement is needed?
Yeah, if there was any,
Okay.
just expanding on what we already have on here, because I didn't tear that apart line by line.
Right.
But I was trying to see, because what I also didn't want to do was try to duplicate.
Right,
what
because
they
some
had-
stuff has been done.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And you'll see in there, what's really nice is for a lot of the initiatives, they have a low, middle, and high
Right,
tier,
right.
and they give a breakdown. I don't know how close these costs were when it actually happened. I'm assuming
Right.
pretty close.
Right.
But it gives us all an idea, especially Councilman Yeager, you were bringing up with, the additional funding. You kind of have a punch sheet, so to say, on which project do I really want to do? Let's go
Right.
mid-tier for these. Let's say the sidewalk thing, let's say it's $1 million to do it. We can go mid-tier, still accomplish the goals you want to accomplish. It might not have all the bells and whistles and,
Yeah.
Right.
but you're going to you could potentially get a lot more done. And I like the fact that
That was
they
a
gave
great
you-
report.
They gave you a lot of options and a lot of flexibility, and that's what I'm hoping that we can get with this one as well. Because having that. One other thing. So if you want to do a deep dive in that, by all means. By all means.
That's not necessary for you to get this in.
It wouldn't be necessary.
Yeah, we just need to definitely add to that,
Because I wrote
which is
this.
part of this list.
I wrote this loosely enough that as ideas come to the table, even after it went out to bid, we wouldn't have to retract it, do an addendum, send it out again, potentially extend the time for the bids to come back in, because there's a whole bevy of laws that are surrounded by that too. But I just wanted to piggyback off of Councilman Yeager's comments about getting this done quickly. We have already went to City Council and got permission to go out to bid for this. So essentially, if we were to decide today, this is good, let's do it, we just shoot an email over to the Herald, and they'll have it in next Wednesday's paper, ready to roll.
Yeah.
We would just need to agree on a date of when we would like to see everything submitted to us, so that way we can decide which firm we'd like. Now, major caveat, when you go out to bid, since we're not doing a competitive contract, I already looked into it, this doesn't fall under those parameters where we can decide the weight of the criteria of which we're judging these firms.
We cannot, you're saying.
I'm gonna consult a couple other purchasing agents and just see, it might be a stretch.
Okay.
But that would also require another resolution for permission to even use competitive contracting. With this style of bid, we have to use the lowest, responsive, and responsible. And you can deem that by responsible, meaning they've clearly demonstrated to us that they can do this work. Responsive is that they actually completed the bid specification the way that we had requested them to, and lowest is the lowest price.
Okay.
That is state law. We can't bend around that too much.
Well, we'll get this and anything else. Committee, when do you think that we can?
Is next month too long, or Mike, you weigh in on this?
Yes.
Okay.
I just want to wait till Holly comes back.
When's that?
I'm assuming she's only gone a week.
Yeah.
So that would be.
If we
I
can
would
do it
say
in a
that-
couple weeks,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, the end of the
before
month,
August 1st.
that would be great,
Okay.
I think. Good.
Okay.
Does anybody have any other questions?
Great.
No, thank you very much.
Oh, you're
Great-
welcome.
Great job.
Hey, I
Thank you.
appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
Have a good day, everybody. And then what I'll do is, when I send this to Holly, I'll make sure that she gets my email out to everybody. So that way, if there's any additions, any questions on anything, I'll be able to.
Can you send that electronic version? that you have down on that?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
And what I'm going to have Holly do is, she said she was going to look for her copy of that had the extended.
Thanks.
So hopefully we can get that too.
Yeah,
All right, great. Thanks, everybody.
very good, thank you.
Chief, I know you've been very patient. and,
I do have a 10:30, I'll be quick.
Sorry.
It's all good. Just circling back real quick to the manager's comments regarding the stop sign on Elmira, I do concur with that. I know he's gotten a lot of flack over that over the last couple weeks.
That does not represent the neighborhood. I'll
No.
let you know.
But I have every complaint, every person I talk to has complained about that stop sign.
Yeah,
But they don't live anywhere near there.
Right.
right. It's an inconvenience because you're trying to get somewhere quickly to the other side of town.
And people are running it, I mean,
People are running it. We do have the ghost car out there. I eventually will probably move some staff into the car, but I pull them there. I pull them from somewhere else on the street.
But it's
So
effective. I mean,
it's effective, and I think once it goes into, hopefully goes into,
people will get used to it.
they'll get used to it. And once the lines are painted there and the roads repaved and, the confusion of Atlantic City Electric being there because they're moving stuff in and out of there. So once all those trucks are gone, I mean, they're reseeding right now. I had to move the ghost car this morning. They're overseeding the grass in that area, trying to get, freshen it up. So they're, once that's out of there and we can actually, have lines painted in the area there and the ordinance goes into effect and we do proper notification to people, it'll be, a few tickets will go a long way, as we always say. Not that we want to do that, but we might stop some cars and advise them of that, and it might be the daily runner that runs the stop sign. Slow down and smell the salt air, like I always tell people when you come to Cape May, smell the salt air. So I do concur with them. Do they slow you down? Yes. Are they a problem? Is it make you, have to stop again? Yes. But you know what? You might save someone's life. That's the whole goal of this, is to save someone's life and slowing them down into town and slowing them down out. Because our partners in West Cape May also want people to be slow. They are complying with our 20-mile-an-hour speed limits and the curve at, different areas there, Central Avenue. I've spoken at length to Mayor Sabo about this. So she wants cars to slow down, the golf carts to be safe and respectful and responsible. So we're all in compliance there. So that's where we are. So we'll circle back to that when it comes up. Terry, you and I had spoke quickly in the hallway early in the week here about e-bikes, and you said you were looking for some of the verbiage inside the language for the ordinance. Speaking last week, we said it's pretty much the operator is the issue, not necessarily the bike. I don't, if I have someone zipping down the boardwalk and it's someone's affronted by that or bothered by that, yes, we're going to have to address that person.
Right.
E-bikes are a thing. They're here. Ocean City and other areas have tried to disband or ban them from their boardwalks. Some have. Wildwood tried. Didn't work. Atlantic City, they're zipping up and down. Are they too fast? Yes. But again, it's operator responsibility. My
Right.
son's e-bike goes 25 miles an hour. I can gate it back to 15 if I'd like by the computer on the screen. But, they do go fast. I can gate it up to 37 miles an hour. But again, I don't want to blanket and say, hey, it's wrong for the entire boardwalk to have e-bikes on them, because that's the thing of the future. People must, drive responsibly on the boardwalk. And
I think the other issue we have to consider, one being myself, is it's also a huge help for handicapped people. I mean, they use them for pedal assist, which is huge. So, I mean, to make a blanket statement that these are dangerous, it's not the bike that's dangerous, as the chief just said. It's the operators. It's the operator of the LSVs, it's the operator of the cars, it's the operator of the bikes. That's what it is.
right. Oh, so yeah, I do agree. Like I said, but again, some of the signage, maybe you don't have high speeds on the e-bikes on the boardwalk. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to put a speed limit on the boardwalk, but I mean,
Sure.
we need to do something like that as far as the speed there. So,
Yep.
Terry, you were looking into it, so I don't know what you came up with any more, if there's any more information on it. So we can go with that. So I know you're looking at me like, why'd I mention it? But, as far as that's concerned, on the boardwalk and anywhere else in town, I mean, we can't have them zipping through stoplights and traffic. We are enforcing heavily the one-way traffic in the mall and around the business district. We've written several tickets, actually gotten into some heated arguments with the people that we're giving tickets with, because they were like, why are you giving me a ticket for this? Why are you stopping me? The LSVs, we've been stopping them. I've had several complaints and from people that were driving them. So it's just they weren't used to getting stopped all the time. So now we're not hammering them. We're educating them through enforcement. It's going to start with a verbal, then it's going to start with a ticket, then it's going to start with court, and it's going to cost them at some point. We're not trying to be, the bike and LSV.
You're doing enforcement.
But yeah, and that's what the people are asking for, is enforcement, and
Yeah.
this is what you're
Right,
doing.
and that's,
Really appreciate
council's asked for that, we've asked for that. So we're trying to do it respectfully and mindful of the people that come here, visitors, residents, and the like. And, our helmet campaign is just begun. We were a little bit late. Our printer got our positive helmet tickets out to us a little bit late. I'd like them out before 4th of July, so they will be out next year before 4th of July. However, they are out now. Officers will be stopping families and kids that are properly wearing their helmet and giving them the positive helmet tickets to the fudge kitchen, to the pizza places around town, the ice cream eateries. And we really appreciate the vendors that come out and help us out with that, because it's all free. They donate ice cream cones, pizza and different things, and it makes it enjoyable for the family to go into a place and say, hey, my kid was doing the right thing, here's his reward.
Great.
So it benefits them, so. We've also got a commitment from, I think it was from the Kiwanis. I spoke to Bob Elwell the other afternoon at the flag ceremony, and he's asked me about National Night Out coming up and some bike safety stuff. And he said he had one of the gentlemen at Kiwanis that wanted to donate some bike lights, the rear lights for bikes that we were going to give out at our National Night Out. And anyone that doesn't have a helmet and can't afford a helmet or bike lights for your bike, please come see my department. I have a good relationship with all the bike shops. Any kid, Dennis, many years, Dennis over at the bike store there, right next to the Big Wave, has given kids in Broad Street, has given kids in Coast Guard Base helmets free of charge. A kid walks in there that doesn't have a helmet, he's going to find one for him and give him a helmet. So if you can't afford a helmet, we'll get you one. If you can't afford lights, we'll get you lights. And for that, so we want everybody to be safe. If you need your vehicle and your bike inspected, just stroll on into one of our bike shops, and they will look it over to make sure you're working properly.
On the night out, would you have any objection, council or committee, if you go along with this, is that if we can get our act together, having some sort of booth or just a chair with some of our literature?
Absolutely. Absolutely, you can. So I'm just going to give you a number, 884-9514. You're going to reach out for Allie, that's my coordinator. One of my secretaries who handles National Night Out booths and tables and people coming. So she just puts you on a list, and then you show up and you bring your own table, you bring your own literature. Even if it's just talking, I could even put the bike lights with you. You know what I mean? And say, hey, you need a bike light? Here's a bike light. People will take them for just because they're there, but you kind of want the people to take them to use them. August 1st, Tuesday, August 1st. Always the first Tuesday in August every year.
884-9514.
Yes, ma'am. Allie, A-L-L-I-E.
And then one other quick thing is the bike shops and lights and bells.
I think I included in the one email I just sent, I didn't know if you forwarded it to the group, about child safety restraints, because we had a car stop or a LSV
On the
car,
LSV, right.
So I included that. I actually sent that to all of the LSV bike places. I need to forward the same for bike lights and helmets for the bike stores.
Okay.
So got to do the same thing for there, that they recommend that. I kind of told Pedgo when I met with them, we had an accident there last year. I said, his thing was to me was, hey, well, we give them a helmet, they sign off. I said, make them take the helmet. If they take it off down the street, that's on them. I said, but if you give them the helmet, it's going to be more of a cumbersome bother on the bike handle. They'll just put it on their head, and use it. So if it's given, they should use it.
What about the lights?
The lights, again, it was more of a, hey, we have them on there, but if they don't turn them on, it's not our fault.
Correct.
And I said,
But are they on there?
some of them are. They aren't on all of them. They all have reflective lights. I did confirm that a requirement for their insurance company that they had to have them. As far as AC or DC powered lights, they weren't required. But they're required to have them on the bikes, but they weren't on all the bikes.
I don't understand that when it's a law.
It's a law as far as the bike light, reflective bike lights. And at nighttime riding, you must have it.
Okay.
So they're saying, hey, we're renting them during the day. What happens? Most of their bikes come back at night, or they're rented over the evening hours into the next day. So if you want to draft something for them, we can get it out to them.
Well,
only a
no,
couple bike shops in town.
You know, I want to go, I don't want to create something new if we already have something in place.
Right, I'll revisit it and actually send it out and meet with them, and just,
Like
again.
you said, it's
encourage-
recommendation.
It's recommendation, but there is law to riding the bicycles at night. So if you have a renter that's rented your bike for the weekend, they obviously may be driving it after hours at dusk or dawn. They should have the availability to have a light on there. So if your bike's being rented, it should have it on there. So I'll revisit that.
Okay.
Is the not last thing, but in conversation as I sat here, you guys were talking about the calming devices or calming, speed bumps obviously are illegal in New Jersey, but I'm more apt to, we put them in and we've had to rip them out in West Cape May years ago. But I love the Stone Harbor entry. As you drive into
Yeah.
Stone Harbor, it does slow you down. They're watching for turtles and people, so we should do the same. You know what I mean? So wherever we can implement those, speed bumps are not the favorite, but, they kind of, lift you up off the ground. But wherever feasible and financially able to put these in, the longer streets, the areas that you have. Striping does one thing, but the speed humps or the calming devices.
Oh, yeah, they're great.
They do work.
Just to chime in, so there's two different things. The ones on Stone Harbor Boulevard, they're actually speed tables.
Speed tables.
So when they're-
Tables,
So when they're
Those are the
long,
That's the
so when they're
word.
long and
Yeah.
they're over like 10 feet, 12 feet, that's
Yeah.
a speed table.
Yeah.
The speed humps, they're obviously a
Shorter.
little bit taller and wider. They're about, but they just go up and over, and that's a speed hump. They don't always give the intended reaction.
Yeah. Cape May Point just put those in too. So if you go out to Cape May Point or
Yes.
Lighthouse, they have them in
Yeah.
there.
That was
And
county.
That was the county road, so they just put them in there and.
I mean, I think on our city roads, because our speeds are lower already, I think they can do a little more help, but when the speeds are up over 35 on a street like that, speed humps really become not as a deterrent because they become more of a nuisance to the neighbors, because the cars truly don't slow, I mean, the bigger cars don't really have to slow down to go over them, and they make more of a bump, or you'll get the people that will do a hard brake and then do a very fast acceleration afterwards to get right back up to speed, so it doesn't give you the intended case. So you have to be real particular in the location of it. Also, you have to be watching for driveways, because if people are pulling,
Right.
especially if they have a trailer that they're pulling into their driveways and stuff like that, so, and signage, and then becomes an
Trying to
issue
ride a bike.
of advanced
Riding a
signage. So
bike.
there's a lot of issues, you can't just say, oh, let's
Right.
go put a
No,
speed hump.
and
You
that's
have,
where
you have, you have,
this is coming into place, is the, what, from the grant money, what they can plan for us. And that as well, once they talk to them, incorporating the speed, so the speed hump, so clarify again what the table is?
Longer.
longer, on the top. It'll rise up, and then it'll be flat for like 10 feet, and then go
Oh,
back down.
okay.
A
That's
speed
what-
hump,
That's a table.
That's what Stone Harbor
Stone Harbor has
has. They have
Put
tables.
the crosswalk across that too on that
typically,
table?
typically
Right.
you'd put, with a speed table, you would combine it with a crosswalk.
Right, and the hump is just a shorter one. Okay.
Usually, a lot of times you're going to do a speed table is where you have a pedestrian crossing and you want to slow the cars down for pedestrians. A speed hump, you're going to usually use them mid-blocks, and you're really trying to control speed.
Right.
But there's other traffic calming measures, that can be employed.
Right. And everything that we're talking about is under 25 miles per hour anyway. Well, actually, even 20.
Should be.
Because most of our city are all 20, so it is lower speeds, so.
Chief, since I know you had to leave, and I just had a quick question for you. So being in a bike safety committee, and again, I'm about, as I think I told you before, I'm about data. I saw a lot of stuff out there about bike incidents that have happened in Cape May, and somebody actually even mentioned there's a death. I don't know that we've heard anything about that.
As a
And
death, you said?
yeah, I didn't hear that, so.
Now, our
I-
last reported, pedestrian accident was actually in front of Elaine's. Second to that was the one in West Cape May.
That's what I thought, so.
Probably 6 years ago.
One thing I thought would be helpful is, again, looking at our safety measures that we put in, are they working? And are we able to get the data related to any incidents that happen even, and anything that might have surrounding that, what caused it? For instance, they didn't have their blinking light on. They didn't,
Right.
what are the issues that are driving those incidents, so we can look at whether or not our measures that we've put into play are working, or do we need to tweak them? Is that
I can speak
possible?
with Lieutenant Mazza. He's my data collection expert per se. He does the monthly, he does the reporting for how
Sure.
many tickets we write. If he can pull and extrapolate that information, we'll definitely get that for you.
I mean, I think it'd just be, that would be one
I
of the
think
roles
what
we
we're
should-
doing as a council.
Sure.
As the mayor, as the engineer stepping into this new role here in Cape May, as your group of fine individuals, it's working. It's just people aren't used to it.
Sure.
So they're, they might get the kickback, might get the complaints, so people are going to complain, but, I think it's working, lowering the speed's working, our enforcement out there is working. We just continue it. It's not going to happen overnight.
Right,
It's gonna
exactly.
take
But
some
that's why I
time.
think it's important to look at our data and
We're not,
see is it
we're not
trending.
giving people tickets for going over 20 miles an hour because we're doing the education portion of that
Right,
facet right
right.
now.
But it's look at trending the data, is it working? Is it working for us?
To give you the roundabout, I think it's working, but I'll get the data to show
Sure.
that it's working.
Thanks.
on That end of it.
Because I believe you had said that your officers are now documenting every pullover,
Yeah, with the new system. City
including
Ca-
bikes? and-
Correct, yeah. So even with that all gets a CAD entry. Anytime we have contact with a vehicle, pedestrian, or a bicycle, or LSV, that all gets documented. It's on body camera, and it also allows us to go back when we issue tickets. They're required now to issue warnings through our e-ticketing system. Before, they would issue a warning, it would be verbal, and I had no account of it. Now I can go back and say, how many written warnings were written?
Right.
Because it prints out, it just says, you were warned for your speed, or you were warned for your helmet. I can print that information out. The software that the city council bought last year works phenomenal. It's $36,000, best thing we bought in a while, for parking tickets, for this type of calibration. And I send that report to the manager. I'm hoping he forwards it. You can see how many tickets each officer wrote and for what they wrote it for.
And I'm sorry, one more quick question.
Yeah.
There was a mention, and I should have asked our city manager, there was a mention that the electric company is paving Venice,
There, I believe, in the emails,
but
yeah.
are
Elmira
they
and Venice.
paving, you'll
Yeah.
discuss this then? Or-
I just happen to know.
Okay, and Elmira? Not Elmira, though?
Yeah.
Yes.
Elmira and
Yes.
Venice.
Oh, they
In front
are?
of, in front of, yeah.
Let the chief go. He's gonna be-
Yeah, sorry.
No, in front of that, yes, definitely they are.
Yes.
I wasn't a part of that email, but.
Okay,
Initially, it was Venice, and then Public Works, after the project was coming to completion, we, made them realize that they need to do Elmira also. And then I think the city's gonna, from Venice up to Broadway, we're gonna, I think, try to piggyback and get that all done, so that whole stretch is done.
okay. Well,
The
we can
bad
let
news,
him go.
though, is, for the chief, when you get a new paved street, I'm sure he knows, the
speedway.
speeds will come,
There goes.
are gonna come right up.
But there you
So-
go, once it's cleaned up and paved, I'll run radars out there, I'll run guys out there. We're working on our other speed sign right now to get it out there, so we'll, we know that problem area is an area, and education, and enforcement. It's all a total package. You can't
Very
just go
good.
hammer people that don't read, don't look at council meetings, that don't go to, that kind of thing, so.
Thank you.
And then we have the people that are, and also in this system, it'll tell me if I stop a car, when the last time they were stopped by our officers or any officers in Cape May County for speeding. So it's like, oh man, this is my first time. No, it's your third. It says it right there. Because if you're stopped and the officer properly puts it in, it says you were stopped 3 times. Because each officer doesn't talk to each other. It's all squads. So they'll know, hey, on the night shift, you were speeding on the same road. So now here's your Simones. We make them a member of the 3x11 club.
Thank you.
There you go.
Anything you need, call me, email.
Thanks so
All right,
much.
guys? Thank
Thanks,
you.
Deacon.
Thanks.
Good afternoon and a good day.
You too, man.
All right.
City engineer, did we want him to step in?
Paul, are you going to be here for the entire meeting?
I was today, just because I'm trying to, I'm new to the city, so I'm
Get a
just trying to
feel?
get a
Okay.
feel for, and I'm going to try to visit all the different committees, just to kind of
So-
see how they operate, see some of the concerns, and, because obviously concerns may be coming my direction, and just want to have a feel and a flavor, and then also be able to introduce
I
myself.
know you've only been in here since July 1.
Last week was my,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
not even a week yet.
Yeah, I thought I read that in the paper. So you probably have some initial impressions, and we'd love to hear them.
Well, love the opportunity to work here in the city, and just kind of bring my experience, and, to have a technical person in the building, I think will be a valuable asset, not only to, the people here in, that work here, but for all the residents that live here, that provide that technical resource. So that's what I'm here for.
Okay, thanks. It's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, Paul has great experience, and we're lucky to have an engineer, working for the city. There's so many things that we can do better now, more effectively, because he's here. I'm looking forward to it. It's great.
It's great.
Yeah.
And your last name again, Paul?
Dietrich.
Dietrich, Diet Rich. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, I have to spell it.
Excellent. Okay, well, we'll go to old business. We've got the map.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be brief. It ended up that we didn't really get this done. We're hoping to get it done in the next couple of days. The gist of it is that, here's the original map. This is the original one. What we're gonna do is blow up this section a little bit more for the really true downtown, because some of these little streets are one way, and when you have this, it's too condensed, you can't see the one way. So this one, just as a glance, is gonna be blown up a little bit more for downtown. We've taken out a lot of the verbiage. The sample that we have, that I got this morning, isn't very good, but, because it's still in process, and apologies that we didn't get it done. But again, we're still keeping this information, all this notable information, on the one side, but all the verbiage on this one, we're trying to just put in more pictures, because people can take in pictures more than read. So that's where we are with that, and we're hoping to get that done, and out to the press at this point by the end of the month. It's late, but there's still some maps out there. Some people want them, but again, getting the QR code on the website, we'll get that done sooner than later. So that's about where we are with that. Any comments? I mean, like I said,
No.
it's hard to comment when it's really not complete.
You're making progress, and we'll
Yeah,
keep going.
and that's Hillary and I.
Okay. Any other old business?
Good stuff.
We're going to get to sidewalk again, Jim, and so we'll go into new business then. Councilman Yeager, we've given everybody else the floor. Do you need, you have any other comments?
No, I don't think so. I don't think there's anything else to add at this point. We're doing everything we can to move along all the projects that we work with the county on, and if there are things that the city's missing, let me know. But I think we're on track for most things.
Yeah, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Since you've come on board with this committee, we've been at warp speed compared to what we were doing before.
Thank you. I think that reflects obviously more all of you, but I'm
You're
more
all
than,
listening.
that's what I'm here for, yeah.
Thank
My
you.
job. Thank you.
And again, I'm beating a dead horse here. Back on Elmira, when the electric company paves it, of course, we can't put in our wish list on that. And something like, if it was decided later to put a speed hump in, the city decides to do that, is that something easy enough to do afterwards, I guess is my question.
Yeah, that can be added afterwards.
Okay.
All right,
I don't know that I wouldn't ask Atlantic City Electric to do it.
yeah.
There's no harm in asking. They do a whole lot of stuff for us. I just don't think it's too much. They've got a lot of money.
Well, I guess
but-
my question is, who would you talk to? And I guess we would almost defer to you, Mike, if you could do that?
Well, I think, I imagine this,
I'll help coordinate that.
yeah,
Oh.
I mean, I'll
that'd be
we'll ask the
great.
question and
Great.
talk about it.
Great, okay.
But first, we got to evaluate whether or not we do want to put a speed hump there, and
Right.
it's an evaluation process
Yeah.
altogether, so.
No.
How do they work
Well,
with bikes? Because do they go into the bike lane, or they stay outside the bike lane?
Speed humps, they stay in the bike lane,
They do.
yep.
I think that's another issue we got to.
And that's where, with bike lanes, they're not always bike-friendly. I mean, Public Works doesn't always necessarily like them, because from a snow plowing perspective, they're almost
Right.
they're a nuisance for
Yep.
snow plowing. And so you're always going to have, I'll say, icy spots near them. You have residents' concerns. that if you are on a higher speed volume road, like a 35-mile-an-hour road, the bigger cars will learn that they don't have to slow
Yep.
down to go over them. And I've done it and I've tested it myself, and then you end up hearing boom, 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 boom,
Yep.
boom, boom, boom. And they don't provide the desired effect. What provides the desired effect is the person that just spoke earlier, enforcement,
Yep.
education, and enforcement. I mean, they can be helped, but there is other
We
speed calming measures.
we could create an issue by doing, here's what I'm thinking. Electric bikes is an example. We're all complaining about electric bikes. Now you put a speed bump in, and somebody's hitting that thing at 30 miles an hour, and now they're flying, you know what I
Well,
mean?
I
And-
mean,
But they
you-
shouldn't
getting
be going
hurt.
30 miles an
Well,
hour.
we know that, but we're putting a speed bump in because they're not following.
That's their problem.
They're not following
what you
it.
also do is you have to keep them off of the curb of the road to allow for drainage.
Right.
So what then the e-bikes will necessarily do is they'll be
Correct.
doing a lot of maneuvers to not do them. Or then you also have cars will go over and try to ride that curb line so that now they're just riding one tire over the
Yep.
speed hump. Because I think we've all done it, like in
I've done
a
that.
shopping center where there's a speed bump, you try to maneuver over so you're not
Yeah.
hitting both tires over. So it's just a human nature. So
Yep.
they have to be evaluated.
Yeah. and-
effectively.
And
But-
having you coordinate that is great. You're the experts. We're just the recommendation, learning.
Yeah, what's the harm in asking? But
That's right. No, that's,
Paul said, yeah, we need to make sure that it's something that makes sense from an engineering standpoint.
Unfortunately, we are under 20 miles per hour, and we really don't get snow, so much ice.
Much,
So,
yeah.
you know.
all right. Jim, you want to elaborate more on your
Yeah,
preliminary study?
Yeah, just a little bit. I don't have a whole lot to report. But I am working on behalf of the committee in what I call a sidewalk situation assessment. Hoping to come up with an answer, do we have a problem or do we not have a problem? Should we spend more time on this? And in order to do that, I felt I needed a lot more information than just word of mouth. So I got a open public records document here, a request, and filled it out. I'd like to enter this into the record. I'm looking really for four things for a 15-year time frame, and I just picked that number out of the air, figuring that would give us a little bit of a historical perspective of what's been happening. And just quickly, number one, the number of people reporting being injured due to an incident involving a sidewalk in the city of Cape May. Over 15 years, how many people have really, reported in, I broke a leg, I sprained an ankle, et cetera. The number of notices issued by the city of Cape May to city property owners asking them to repair or replace all or a portion of their sidewalk. So how many citations, if we want to call it that, have been issued over the past 15 years to repair your sidewalk?
Yeah.
Okay. Number three, again, for 15 years, the number of property owners who have replaced or repaired their sidewalk after receiving notice from the city. And number four, the amount of money for each of the past years spent by the city of Cape May in financially assisting. The city puts in 50% of the reimbursement to the property owner if they repair their sidewalk.
Is that,
That's not in all cases, though.
right, I was just going to ask.
Pardon?
That's not in all cases.
Not all cases.
That match is not in all cases.
In other words,
Well,
everybody doesn't get it funded.
I'm just looking for how much money has been spent.
And I just would just say, you don't need 15 years of data to really evaluate it. 1 or 2 years would be the most that you really need to evaluate current conditions? Because that's really what you're doing, is evaluating,
Well, I wanna-
there's
I
no
wanna
need for
know-
historic conditions. You need to know what current conditions are to see, is there a problem or not? And then you really need to because the electronic record keeping back then, to try to determine 15 years of records is going to be pulling boxes from files that
Can you?
are in
can you
storage.
narrow this is basically what,
So,
I think the other issue we had too is historically, the volumes of people here are going to be much more in the last couple of years. So maybe not as true as 15 years ago, right? Because if you only had 2, but now you have 8, is that because we have more volume of people here? You know what I mean, the last couple. So I would be in agreement that we narrow that down to, less years to get an
Okay.
idea. Do we
Valid
have an
point.
issue? Do we have an issue?
Yeah, valid point. But, again, I think it would be interesting that, we spent a bunch of money back in 2012 to 2016, and then none since then, or something like that.
But there was also periods of time where the city had, the reason why the city started paying some of that money was we had grant money to pay for those repairs. And, instead of the city kind of stopping that proration, they've kind of allowed that to and it's not even, from what I understand, on the, there's no ordinance or requirement for the city to do that. They've just kind of continued that procedure. So, I mean, there's,
I think this will give us a baseline to then dig deeper into, what and why. It looks to me like, just looking at it and walking it and living there for 30 years, that not a lot of work in the historic district has been done. And why is that? I'm not going to look into why right now. I just kind of want to get some baseline data that we can make a decision to proceed further, or just, okay, this really isn't an issue. Let's put it away and look at other issues that we have here in town. So that's been submitted. I'm going to work through the city manager, as he requested this morning, and see what kind of response we get.
and ask him to narrow the scope.
To
And
the,
then narrow the scope.
Yeah, I'd say see what Mike thinks is reasonable, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I like it. Like I said, I'm on, I'm on his side, I'm on the city side in doing this, and I think we all are. But if we, it's not for me to make these decisions, it's trying to get some information and have the committee work it.
All right, thanks, Jim. Appreciate the effort, really, and we know you were well-intended, so it's, we'll get the info that we
Get the
need.
info and then see where we go from there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any other new business?
That's it. I give that to you for, just to put in the record of the.
okay.
Thanks.
Now knowing that, and again, it's my neighborhood, and I'll try to keep it brief, is that, Paul, if on Elmira Street, if we can, since the electric company is looking to repave that road, and this is an aside and gonna be a big question mark, and Councilman, this might be something for you to address, is for safety measures, and then maybe we can't address it now, maybe we just are happy that they paved the road, is eliminating the parking spots at that area by the power company would free up, it would open it up for more safety for bikes going down there. I know that there was a couple of things going on in the spout off for that. It wasn't me, but,
Yeah, rip them.
and I think there's about 6 spots there. But if they eliminated those parking spots, that would make that area so much safer. And then we put routing signs, bike routes, to turn them onto Venice and come up Bank.
Which is,
And still keep
yes.
those spots in that block there, we can't have everything.
The problem is that instead of going up Elmira to a traffic light, which is the safest way to cross Lafayette, we're taking them over to Bank, where it's, now you're at the mercy of
Oh,
judgment.
terrible.
Yeah.
So
And-
you-
Yeah, trying to
And-
figure out the lesser of two evils.
And your other unconsequented thing will be, you remove the parked cars there, slows traffic. So you take so it's like this double-edged sword. From a car's perspective, the wider space that you have, the faster they're gonna
Yeah, but
drive.
you might be able to get a bike lane in there, the start of the bike lane, to connect with West Cape Mays. The bridge narrows, I know there's nothing
Right,
you can
and
do
that's,
about
and that's
that.
what's tough of, if you open it up, you want it consistent for, just to do it for a couple hundred feet. We'll look at it. We'll look
Yeah, I
at it.
appreciate it, because it's bad there. It is really bad there. So, anyway.
Okay. I think that's all we have. We had a productive meeting. Any other comments before we make a motion to adjourn? Do I hear one?
No, sir. I'm good.
Okay.
Oh,
Second, all
we
in
didn't
favor?
approve the minutes, sorry. We need to approve the minutes as well.
Okay, before we adjourn,
Did anybody see anything glaring
I never saw them,
wrong? Oh, you didn't see it.
so I didn't get them. I looked for them.
Should we delay or approve the minutes?
Yeah, we can approve the minutes, because I commented on them over the phone with you.
Okay.
Do we hear a motion to approve the minutes as submitted?
Yeah, we got to approve the minutes.
Okay, a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Thanks.
All right.
And now to adjourn.
And then to adjourn? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great, thanks.
10:50. 10:50. Good stuff.
Grants range from 2 million to 30 million for municipalities.
And, Jeff, we were talking, he was commenting earlier, this city is so big on PR. And man, we get this city safe biking. Not that we want more bikes here, but I mean, it's a really good selling point too, we've been saying this for years, but the support we have from you guys now is just incredible. It's incredible. Alrighty.
We love productive committees, and this is obviously one of them.
Yeah. I'm sorry that Jim's thinking but we clarified,
Yeah, he didn't know, but what I didn't know,
because that's a big
I
job.
was talking to Erin after she came back from maternity leave, and she said, Mike, 80% of her time is digging, I think the number was 80%, it was outrageous, is digging up Oprah requests. So things like that, when we asked for 15 years, she can't talk them into less. And Paul said she's going to the boxes in the basement and get some.
Yeah.
So anyhow,
Live and learn.
work
Yep.
through